industry in India. It encapsulates the elements of print, personalities and their plans. And I think through my presentation, we give these superstars of the industry the appreciation that they deserve. Print Week India Awards. Print Week India Awards, we are into the sixth edition of the awards. What we do through the Print Week India Awards is celebrate the excellence of print. We receive about 150 to 160, 75 print entries. We receive entries from big towns, from big cities, like we receive entries from Pragati, the replicas, the Parksons and the IIPs. But there's a particular trend that we have seen in the last few years, is that we are also receiving entries from small town cities, like say Vadodara. We receive from Ahmedabad, from Chhattisgarh, very akin to what we have seen in the Indian cricket team. Earlier we used to have players from Mumbai, from Kolkata, from Bangalore. You have the likes of Tendulkars and the likes of Rahul Dravid and Sourav Ganguly. Today we have people like Dhoni coming from Jharkhand. We have other players who are making a mark who belong to this smaller cities.
Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here today, and I would like to give you a short update on the position of Heidelberg and our view onto the packaging market. 51% of them. The total of Europe is only 14% and Japan merely 2%. But where is the biggest packaging market? You can see in Japan, with 2% of the population, they cover 10% of the packaging market. Many things are packed, very sophisticatedly packed in Japan. In Europe, it's 36%, in America 24%, and in Asia Pacific 18%. If you now look at India making up 16% of the world population and a very small fractional part of the world packaging market, namely only 0.7%. So you can see here is actual potential for a country with 1.2, 1.3 billion people having only 0.7% of the world market in packaging. And this is something we have noticed, that printers look at this. They want to diversify, they want to have another leg to stand on in the business, and they're looking at possible setups of packaging printing factories. So what would you need for packaging? You would need actually a complete workflow. You should have the possibility to also design your boxes, make your plates in-house, control this part of the workflow, and have the full integration, including, very important, color and quality management. That's even more important than in the commercial printing, because you want your product, your printed product, your branded product to look the same, whether it's printed now, the packing for it is printed now, or 6 months down the line. And ideally, to be a meaningful player in this field, you should have a finishing operation as well, folder gluing and die cutting, to be able to offer the entire solution to the print buyer. Heidelberg has products for all of these different phases, for all of these different applications. We focus a lot on the software integration, so you can design your box on the computer, have a 3D animation, see how it looks like without printing it, without printing a sample of it, key in the necessary parameters, the format, the size, the thickness, the folding marks only once at the pre-press stage, and these data are carried forward through the different production stages, through printing, through finishing, folder gluing, and die cutting.
I think Uno said one thing. India, 0.7% of the total world packaging, and the population 16%. Japan population 2% and 10% of the world packaging potential. Is this the time to debate what is it that India is not being recognized as a packaging hub for exports, or a packaging hub to be recognized in spite of the fact that we have the very best of printers, in spite of the fact that in certain corners we have the very best of the machines, the printing machines, the pre-press, the post-press. So what is it that is holding us back? Is a question I think I would like each one of you to take back with you as the day finishes. Because it's a very moot question. It's not only the question of the potential, the optimism. It's a question of what is Gen X going to tell us? Is Gen X going to feel proud of us, or are they going to feel pessimistic that our forefathers could not bring India on the map of printing and packaging? So I think it's a very, very serious issue. At the same time, it's a very opportunistic issue for the investors, for the Gen X to come all out into this business and see why cannot we as a literate country, we as a country which is so large, convert this into an opportunity to make India the hub, the mecca of printing and packaging exports, when countries like Bangkok, countries like Singapore, countries like other Asian, Indonesia are exporting their packaging material. What's wrong with us? Just last fortnight back I was in Bangkok when I was seeing the export of the packaging material. That's a small country. So India is still not recognized, is my question, in spite of us being the very best. What do we have to say on that? Do we lack in pre-press? I don't think so. We got the best of pre-press available to us. Technova leads with the CTPs and the other plates. We have the best of pre-press equipment. But yet for all, we don't feel satisfied. Is it because we are 95% entrepreneur driven? Is it because we are family driven? And if that is a kind of an opportunity that's going to come into India, are we prepared for the huge colossal growth that India is likely to see, not only in exports, but also in its own captive consumption? China depends more on exports. The Southeast Asian countries depend more on exports. India is just about 12% to 12.5% of its per capita production which is exported out. The balance is all captive consumption. And is it kitna dhan ghar mein leke aate ho is the old saying of the British days. Indians have only learned to look inside but not look outside. So I'm sorry I'm being critical at this hour, it's frustrating, but with this small audience I want you to take this message home. Let's not be the old hags. Let's look at the world as a global village. Let's start thinking globally and still keep our culture intact. If you look at the board, ITC Bhadrachalam has the oxygen bleached board. International Paper, once upon a time, 10 years back, used to be the only company in the world that manufactured oxygen bleached board for soft cups. Today, International Paper has come into Hyderabad, is putting a very big plant in Dahej to compete with ITC on a global basis. What is it that today cigarette packaging you find being printed more in Malaysia and not coming into India? What India is doing is basically domestic. Hardly 2% of that cigarette packaging is going out to countries like Bhutan, etc. So what stops us from getting that business? What stops Philip Morrison or Bats to come down to India and ask, why can't we print cigarette packaging? Is it the monopoly of ITC? Is it the monopoly of 21st century Saket Kanoria? I don't think so. It's just the will, it's just the sheer part that do I go global? Do I need to move out of my city? Do I need to remain in Kolkata? I'm a non-resident Kolkatan also. But I had to move because I would not be able to gain that business acumen, the knowledge, or create for my own country the kind of business I would be able to. As Noel very rightly said, Jugaad. He's gone and answered it. According to Mahesh Mashalkar, Jugaad is the worst kind of legacy we have taken, because as Noel pointed out, we cannot disseminate that knowledge across the country. So it's localized. It's only with one man. But we have taken generations to try and gain knowledge. So does in the name of cost, it means that we bring down the standard of living that we have been trying to achieve? You have to give it a thought. We laugh it off. Yes, during Manmohan's time we laughed it out. We said, well, he says India's on Jugaad. Noel has put it beautifully. I must thank Noel for that. But please, for heaven's sake, start looking at technology like you look at your mandir in the morning. Every morning, take a kind of a plea that I am going to put myself and my country, my family, onto the knowledge path. You look at the way we are moving our technologies. All we are talking is cost down, cost down. You look at the way the world is looking at technology. Cost down in what way? It's not in cheaper raw materials, it's in thinner, lighter packaging, and in my presentation I will show you what the global companies like Pepsi, Coke or Nestle have been doing in terms of how are they trying to bring down cost by going in for lighter weight packaging, looking at recycling as one of the core part of their mission. So I won't take your time too much because there are lots to talk. If you talk gravure, I think we are no less than anybody in the world, let me tell you that. But then there is a 90% part of our printers who simply refuse to graduate themselves onto the higher end of the pre-press. Because is it lethargy? No. It's just not wanting to push, move. I mean, I don't find any reason when you are a gravure printer, you're onto your proper electronic etching. Why should you not go for the finer etch? What stops you from asking the ink maker to do the pigmentation at 10%? So your film deposits come down by 50%. That's lightweight packaging. And your adhesives comes down. Your films can become much more lesser in width. Believe you me, not many run speeds of 450 meters, but India does. If you go to Japan, you will not see more than 220 meters machines, but the widths are larger. So you've got to see your strengths, but you're not looking at your strengths, you're looking at Babu, at a cost, how to bring it down. No, don't look at that. Look at somebody has put his R&D, he's expecting profits out. With that, let me start. What are the trends? What are the issues? And what's the growth look forward for all of us? Well, I'm sorry, why am I bashing onto entrepreneurs? But it's a saying that the employer does not pay your wages. It's the consumer who pays the wages. The money has just gone in the intermediate media and it's handled by the employers. That's what Henry Ford said when he started progressing in life in his business. Talking about brand loyalty. Brand loyalty was okay 20 years back. 20 years back I said I wore a Wrangler, I wore X brand, Y brand, but today with the retail etc. catching up, I don't think brand loyalty is becoming that much of a thing to stay. So you have to look at your influential factors that's going to help the product manufacturer to sell his wares, to cause the handshake. So you can see what is happening as the brands jostle and battle for their customers' attention on the retail shelf, visual impact created by packaging and printing inks. As my friend Uno showed you the number of combinations the Heidelberg press could go through. The kind of rollers in the varnishing machine, the analog type or the gravure type. You don't have to go for ceramic. You could go in the gravure part of it. That's what we recently did it in a CI press. Because a ceramic roller is costing 2 lakhs to 4 lakhs. So you could go the gravure way. Well, therefore we come to what's the need for products, brands to stand. It's for all of you to see. I think this is cliché. Everybody understands when they go shopping, they look for attractiveness. What attracts them? They put their hand and then they start learning to love it. I think a lot has been said on the global markets. I am going to touch upon the global markets. These are Smith-Pierre figures which are researched, and this just shows to you what's happening on the American side, the European side. You're seeing decelerations, and on the India side, the Brazil side, and on the China side, you're seeing that the growths are looking high. In the morning, my friend doctor said that India is a cheap ink producing country. 2.8 US dollars, that's approximately about 198 rupees, is the average price of an ink, whereas in the US the average price is $4.62. My dear friends, China has an average price of 3.25 US dollars. What does it mean? Does it mean we are a cheap producing center, or does it mean that our product mix is not in the A category? It is in the C and B category. You are not on the quality epitome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Now I request Shri Debashish Vishwas, Chairman Delegation Promotion Committee, WBMPA, to felicitate Shri Udo Fibiga, Business Unit Manager, Heidelberg Asia Pacific, for his wonderful contribution, sir. Thank you, sir. I now request Shri Partha Banerjee, Assistant Secretary, WBMPA, to felicitate Shri B.S. Kampani, CEO and Managing Director, Toyo Inc. India Private Limited, for his absolutely wonderful talk. Thank you, sir. So once again, from the hearts of our hearts, on behalf of the West Bengal Master Printers Association, I would like to thank all our speakers for the wonderful deliberations today. I'm sure a lot of our queries have been answered today, and people are now more confident that they'll be able to do much more business in the days to come, and the way to go about it has been very clearly explained, and we once again thank you for the advice that we have received from all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. This is the end of this session, but the next session is going to come in whenever our body decides, WBMP decides. We'd like to hold such seminars again and again, and we request our speakers to do help us as they have held up this time. I would also like to thank the sponsors, Heidelberg India Limited, the co-sponsors, Toyo Inc., HP and Ricoh, for supporting us in this noble cause. Thank you very much, sirs. I also would like to thank all of you for spending all the time and making this program a grand success. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good evening, sir. It's been an absolute pleasure having you around, and we always find it excellent, and your speeches are so invigorating to all of us. It's just a superb. So I just wanted to small few questions since we have little time. One is, what do you think about printing at present in the country as well as around the world?
Printing as a process has to grow. It will never go down. The only question is in what form it is going to exist. Can we continue with the traditional systems, or do we need to adopt new systems? That's a big question. Evolution. And my understanding is, of course, digital is coming. You cannot deny that. But those printers who can have a perfect balance between the traditional and digital will survive. Because you should be in a position to cater all kinds of jobs. So I don't find any problem in the print industry either today or even in the coming.
The amalgamation.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Sir, and one more small thing. What do you think the future is going to be beyond this? Anything which we do not know, which you are aware of? See if you can enlighten something about this.
So today morning I was trying to convey the same concept. You have to look print in two different angles. One from the traditional angle and one from the modern angle. So traditional angle, when you look, print has come up with a lot of value additions. So every product is customized now. So to do that in a more volume, you need to have a lot of traditional printing processes, which normally a digital cannot do. But certain add-ons like maybe customization part, all those you may take the help, coding, all those you may take digital also. So it is certain that commercial printing, stationeries, all may slowly will go to the digital side. But the traditional packaging, similar kind of jobs, going everything on volume base, no, to digital is not so easy. Not so easy.
Do you think it is ever going to be possible that way digital will
See, if
come
you,
down to that level?
my understanding or my thinking on this is, if you want to produce in volumes, bulks, suppose you want to feed a paper which is 600 GSM or 540 GSM, you need to have that kind of rugged systems, a rugged, suckers and forward. It has to handle that. So you need that kind of a machine. So that machine is already there. And in analog printing, one advantage is, after the few impressions, then the next cost is only the ink. When it look to digital, the problem is every impression has the same cost. So where the return on investment will come? This is a big question. So when you look the cost-benefit ratio, I think traditional printing also has to continue, whatever the volume reduces. This is what I believe strongly.
Absolutely. And one more, rather few more. One of them is, a couple of years back I heard you speak about printing basis as a blanket and ink which can never be replaced. Right. So is this the same till now?
I still believe the same thing, because you look at all the modern digital presses, whether it is Xerox hygiene machine or HP Indigo, every machine has got a blanket. So the ink is transferred through a blanket. till today, no scientist could develop a better way to transfer a sharp dot onto a substrate. So that is why they are following. And the basic definition of offset is that what? You set off the set off the image, the blanket, and from blanket to the offset. So I call an HP Indigo machine as an offset press,
Absolutely.
and an iGene 3 or iGene 5, every machine is an offset. So that process will continue. I'm sure.
There's no change in
This
that,
is
sir.
what I believe.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And last question: what about 3D printing? So much of talk and so much of research going around. What do you think the prospects are going to be, and what kind of finery or development you expect in that field?
It is a big thing which is going to change the whole world. It's a reality today. We have to accept it. Because the kind of microstructuring possibilities possible with the 3D printing is enormous. It is, of course, it's an inkjet process. The basic process is inkjet. So the total depth of the object is divided into n layers, and it is printing layer by layer, and that's the way they are constructing it. And whether it is rapid prototyping or maybe architecture models, maybe a ring, and the bioprinting with your organs and constructing a building, everything is possible with that. And if you look the whole world research in the developed countries like US and Germany and other countries, they're all Japan, China, Korea, they're all focusing a lot in this 3D printing process. But it is not that traditional 3D what we are talking, it's a real cubic printing, the structuring process. And scientists have, I am told, already identified 87 different materials which you can can print through a 3D printer. So this is a technology which will be a killer science, killer technology, and which is going to change the whole in the coming days.
So printers are going to become printers as well as builders and manufacturers all in one.
So I always used to say, what we see today is only the tip of the iceberg.
That's right, the iceberg.
The whole thing has to come up now.
The Titanic will come up
Yes.
someday, right?
But
sir?
this is what I tell every academic institutions, like basically we have to focus a lot in the material science part.
Right, absolutely.
If
The
you
87 material just mentioned.
I cannot go with the traditional material science what I have learned. No, it is obsolete today or insufficient.
Right.
So I have to modify it and do a real study on nanomaterials,
And reality,
maybe
which is
conductive materials, and
Absolutely.
so material science is something
much more
which every printer has to focus a lot in the coming days. This is what I believe.
Perfectly fine, sir. Thank you so much for giving us this time, and hope to meet you again very soon, sir. It was always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
My name is Udo Fiebiger from Heidelberg. I'm a regional manager for Asia Pacific, stationed in Bangkok, and I'm looking after countries in South Asia like India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. And it's my first time not to Calcutta but to East Print and Pack, and I'm surprised how busy this exhibition actually is.
Well, how do you find that exhibitions, the ambience and the technological presentations?
Quite lively, I must say. It's quite a lively atmosphere here, and it's, I think, showing that also small printers are interested in the upcoming possibilities here in Bengal.
We have gone through your presentations in the seminar. How did you like the listener who were listening to you today? Did you have, you feel that the people are got interested about your deliberations?
Yeah, I hope so, but I had expected some questions, but maybe people were a little bit shy to ask.
Well, not shy. I would say that your presentation is so transparent and clear. People have been absolutely okay, so that's why there is no question at all. So today you are from Heidelberg. So comparatively study with Heidelberg machineries and exhibitions you had. These are many exhibitions in Eastern region. So how do you find the exhibitions is to the printers, the visitors, and how it would be attracts from your end?
Yeah, I think it's maybe difficult to have a machine here, but an information booth is nice. And then maybe to organize some kind of a shuttle shuttle service to a print shop. That's always interesting to do, but I think in general, yes, it's quite helpful to have an exhibition like this every 2 years, and I think that's a good time frame also.
Thank you very much for your time, for giving us. Okay.
Hi, I'm Mr. Kampani, CEO, Managing Director of Toyo Inc. India, headquartered in New Delhi. I have spent a lot of my good time in the Printing Inc. fraternity, and I think this show which I'm seeing today does remind me that slow and steady wins the race. So I assume Kolkata would one day become a leading Printing Inc. center, not only in printing but also perhaps in the learning and adapting of the newer technologies. Thank you.
Company, your deliberations, we are listening to your deliberations today. Do you find that this Toyo Inc., you didn't tell anything about your products highlights? You are rather with the technology which is happening all over the world. Do you find that this kind of exhibitions definitely will help it out the Eastern region to come up with the technological upgradations and presentation on your deliberations?
These kinds of exhibitions, I must say, are a platform on which you get an opportunity to interact with people. You gain the confidence that if you were to adapt any kind of technology, you would have helping hands around you, and that platform would also be the one which would kind of create an awareness to the general public, to the normal consumer of packaging material, printed material, that what is happening and what is the importance of packaging in their everyday life. As regards the technology, I spoke about the global part, but let me tell you, as far as Toyo technologies are concerned, the latest technologies have been brought into India, and the creation of the A segment of the market, the quality market, we have captured, and it's growing at the rate of practically 32% in the last 4 years that I have been involved for the technology upgradation of the country. In gravure, I could say that as a CSR, we have decided to bring in aliphatic, which had been tried for the last 3 years in the country. It is a mature technology now. Half-tone printability, all the weather conditions have all been documented, so there should not be any problem to a printer.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you very much. And in front of me, Suren Dote is the past president of All India Federation of Master Printers. Surendra, introduce yourself first.
My?
Introduce yourself. Yeah.